So when we sit down at the Seder, there are a few things that are really powerful and need to be experienced and re-experienced every year. A few of the customs, some of the things we're going to be doing on Pesach, is the questions, the sons, the cups of wine, they all come in the number 4. 4 cups of wine, 4 sons, 4 questions. It seems like 4 is the theme of the evening. And yet, the most important ingredient, the matzah, we have 3. We have 3 matzahs on the Seder plate. What is the significance of the 3 and what is the significance of the 4? So if you know a little bit of the Aleph Beis, Aleph Beis Gimel, Aleph is intelligence, Beis is understanding, Gimel is kindness, generosity. Your mind that is intelligent develops an understanding of how important it is to be generous. So that even if by nature you're not the generous type, by conviction you become generous. So giving is represented by the number 3, by the Gimel. In fact, the word Gimel, which is often associated with camel, Gimel, Gimel actually means donation, giving, Gemilus Chasadim. So, what God does for us, particularly in the month of Nisan, taking us out of Egypt, leading us through the desert to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, this is all giving. The 3 matzahs represent what God did for us, and that comes in 3. But what happens after, what follows after the giving? What comes after the giving is the manner in which it is received. Somebody does you a favor. It took 3 steps. They had to know the virtue of it. They had to explain it to themselves until they were convinced. And then they did it. Now what? Now comes your response. Are you going to say thank you? Are you going to be grateful? Is it going to make you more generous yourself? Is it going to make you more greedy? Are you going to become a spoiled child? Or are you going to become mature and indebted and grateful? So the number 4 represents the recipient. And the recipient's reaction or response. And that's why the 4th letter is the word Dalid, which is popularly associated with door, Dalit. But Dal actually means impoverished. So the Gimel means to give, the Dalit means to the impoverished. But it's not only identifying who you're giving to, it's calling on the impoverished, on the poor man to respond, to receive properly. That's where the number 4 comes in. So the 4 cups of wine That's representing how we received God's kindness and how we responded. And the truth is that our response was not complete until we said Naaseh v'nishma at the giving of the Torah, 50 days later. But since we want to make the end goal of the Exodus clear and apparent as we celebrate the Exodus, we have 4 cups of wine and not only 3. But the matzah, that's purely a revelation or an expression of what God does for us. The wine represents our response to him. So when we sit down at the Seder, there are a few things that are really powerful and need to be experienced and re-experienced every year. Number one, it's all him. It's all him. We weren't looking for religion. We're still not looking for a religion. We're not looking for a God. We're not trying to be religious. We're not content being religious because it's selfish. It's petty. I am religious. Well, great. So what? What does that do for creation? What does that do for the world? What does that do for your fellow Jew? Ideally, when you say I am religious, it means I am committed to God's plan, but not just for myself. I'll keep kosher, I'll keep Shabbos, and I'm done. That's not God's plan. That becomes your plan. Of course, God wants you to keep kosher, because if you don't, you won't be able to serve him in the capacity that he needs you to serve. If you're not going to be concerned with how God wants you to eat, that will weaken your resolve to fulfill God's plan for creation. Because if you don't take him seriously in one thing, you're not going to take him serious in the other. So it's really all about him. It's his world, his plan, his Torah, and we are his people. We're there for him. And every major virtue, every major truth in the world needs a celebration. It needs a day in which the focus is on that virtue, where it's celebrated, where it's talked about, where it's relived, re-experienced. So this response to God's initiative, where God came down to Egypt to take us out, the Rosh Hashanah for that is the month of Nisan, the holiday of Pesach. What does this have to do with freedom? So we started off saying freedom means knowing that there are no laws of nature that control you or dictate your behavior. There is only the law of the Creator, or the wish, the desire of the Creator. That's all. You are liberated from the false impression that nature dictates your behavior, your future, your karma, your destiny. So it's actually freedom to serve. And that was what Moshe said to Pharaoh. We want our freedom so that we can serve God. Let my people go so that they may serve me. Not let them go so that they can wander aimlessly in a desert. For no reason. So that's number one. God came looking for us, and we can never get over that. And number two, Pharaoh's argument that Torah is only good for religious purposes and religion is only good for your soul, we've proven that that is not true. Torah, mitzvahs are crucial for the whole world. It's the only thing that is real and that is lasting and that is satisfying to the human purpose. It's the truth of nature. Nisan is really an insight into what Tishrei is all about. And that's why we have to be concerned. What's going on in the world? In the big world, not just the Jewish world. We have to take an interest. How is the world developing? Is God's plan being furthered? Are we getting closer to the goal? And if not, what can we do about it? So one final thought. There's an actual event where the chief rabbi of Israel back a few years ago, Rabbi Lau, the father, the older Rabbi Lau, came to see the Rebbe. And they spoke about many things, particularly problems in Israel, problems in the Jewish world. Rabbi Lau was a survivor. As a child, he was in a concentration camp and survived miraculously and turned out to be the chief rabbi of Israel, which is an amazing story. But it took a toll. The Rebbe asked why people in Israel were so passive, why they allowed the government to make the same mistakes over and over again. And Rabbi Lau said, we're tired, we're exhausted, we have no strength. The Rebbe didn't really like that answer. That went against his character. He didn't believe that the Jewish people were. But in that conversation, Rabbi Lau said to the Rebbe, what's going to be? What will be? Was wird sein? And the Rebbe said, this is the relevant quote, the Rebbe said, rather than asking what's going to be, ask what more can we do? And thinking about the Rebbe's answer, it occurred to me that there are three possibilities. Why not ask what's going to be? Seems like a responsible question. What's going to be? So one explanation is that if you ask what's going to be, you're getting depressed because the future is uncertain, it's a little scary, it's depressing. So don't go there. Don't get morbid. Talk about what you can do. That's a happier thought. That doesn't sound like the Rebbe. The second possibility is what's going to be, we can't control. The future is not ours to see. So whatever will be, will be. Why talk about something we can't control? Let's rather talk about things that are completely in our control, what we can do to make things better. That's a more practical, a more realistic, and a more hopeful approach. And it still doesn't sound like the Rebbe. The third possibility is this. If you're going to ask what's going to be, the answer is it's going to be great. Mashiach is going to come. The world is going to become holy. There will be peace. There will be no wars. There will be no competition. There will be no animosities. People will have everything they need. The world is going to be wonderful. That's what's going to be. If that's the case, we could just eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow is going to be great. So if you really believe that what's going to be is fantastic, do we need to worry? Do we need to do anything at all? So the Rebbe says, don't ask what's going to be because it's going to be great. Ask what more we can do. Well, why should we do anything if we know it's going to be great? Now we see what the Rebbe really taught us. What we can do to contribute to the greatness that inevitably comes. That is our mission. That's our entire purpose, our entire existence, our being here, our being born, is to make that little contribution that each of us can make. And how important is that little contribution? Well, it's the whole purpose of my existence. So for me, it's very crucial. But here's an insight into what we read in the Megillah, where Mordechai says to Esther, things will be good. Don't worry about the Jewish people. We'll be okay. But you have an opportunity here. If you lose that opportunity, it would be terrible. How important is it for you to make your contribution, even if you have to risk your life? Because this is your life. So it's like saying you should risk your life to fulfill the purpose for which you live. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I can't not fulfill the purpose for which I live because then I haven't lived. So yes, I should risk my life to fulfill the purpose for which I exist. It's an amazing message. On the one hand, so upbeat. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So why do I have to get up in the morning? Because your mission is everything. Rebbe added one other thing. If you can get someone else, your friends, your neighbors, your fellow citizens, if you can get them to fulfill their mission, to fulfill their purpose, to actualize their potential in God's plan, that's even greater than fulfilling your own. And so he made us responsible for each other, made us responsible for everything, because my little contribution makes the world better for everybody. It's not like what Pharaoh thought. You just want to have your little religion, you want to become a little sect, you want to have your little piece of land where you can practice your religion. No. So we are responsible for every person to encourage everyone to do their share. Everyone. 7 billion people in the world, maybe getting close to 8 billion. Everyone's got to do their share. Everyone. No one was created for nothing. And so everyone we come in contact with, any person we can reach through our own initiative, our own efforts, not waiting for them to come to us, we have to reach out. We have to make the purpose of life the purpose of life. Makes sense to me.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.
I want to invite you to join us as VIPs, partners in our work, and join us also for a personal chat with other members of the VIP club. We talk about many things. There's an opportunity to ask, to respond, to make a comment, to meet the other supporters. And together we can really make a difference in Jewish life and in life in general. So join us. It's goodtoknow.org. Log in, call, make contact, and join us with the VIPs.